So what's Disney's Planes about?
Disney's Planes is about, it's about Dusty Crophopper, who's kind of a small town plane. He hasn't been very far, except for the crops that he's been tending for many years in the city of Propwash Junction. He has a great family around him. They care about him. He's got Chug, who's kind of his sidekick. He's got Dottie, who is a bit of a caretaker. Ultimately, he has Skipper is a mentor. But Dusty sees more for himself other than just going back and forth, up and down, low and slow, as he says, with these crops. And he'd like to meet his potential. So there's a race called the Wings Around the Globe Rally. Dusty would like to participate in this. I think that ultimately what he really wants to do, the race is a bit of a symbolic opportunity for him. It's really not necessarily about winning or losing a race. It's what more do I have inside of me that I could challenge myself to and bring out of me. And so begins the beginning of a wonderful adventure.
Describe Dusty.
It's a bit like describing myself, which has become a little strange. At first, I could describe him from afar, but now that we are have become one, Dusty is he's introverted because he feels small, and he feels small because he's a crop duster and he's kind of limited in his abilities. He also has some fears within those limits. He's afraid of heights. So he's kind of been low to the ground, and I guess in some ways he feels like he's been a little bit underestimated, or maybe even just underestimated himself. But he's got a massive heart. He has a huge heart, and I would say he's a bit of a dreamer, and he'd like to see what's over that next mountain range that unfortunately he's a little bit concerned about going over. So you have all these elements that I think kind of boil up in Dusty and finally make him, in a moment, say, you know what? I'm not content in this place that I am anymore. Let me just try. Let me see what I can do if I really push myself to my limits.
So Dusty has a fear of heights. What do you have a fear of?
I have a problem with feeling like I'm losing creative momentum. I like to constantly be challenging myself and doing something new. I will tell you that when Planes came along, I was in a little bit of a place like that in my life. I was yearning for something that would take me in a new direction, something that I hadn't done in my 23 years doing entertainment and stand-up comedy. So when I got the call from John Lasseter, I felt like, much like Dusty, I was about to go over that hill and I was going to be onto the next horizon.
And what's another favourite character of yours in the movie?
That's a really tricky one. I think as far as the heart and the beauty of the scenes, it's with Skipper. I think that the moments that Dusty has with Skipper is it's going to be a moment that's going to reinforce young minds as well. I think it's really going to resonate with kids because we all want that person who is really honest with us, but at the same time, without having any preconceived notions necessarily about us, still believes that we have more within ourselves. I think that's a wonderful message, and I think that Skipper and just that voice and that character moves me. But I love El Chu in terms of the comedic elements. If I start talking the voice, which I do and I can, I can't stop with certain lines and things that you can't help but want to get into that. He has just a great rhythm that Carlos brought to El Chu. So although I love all the characters, those two are really kind of near and dear.
And what is one of the funniest moments for you in the movie? What makes you laugh the most?
Oh boy, I think that I like the musical number. I think that that's a lot of fun. I like when we meet some of the ancillary characters and we meet like the car, Franz, the car plane, and I think there's just a lot of great moments that are both heartwarming and funny. And I think that when you blend those two things together, those are the makings of just a great event for a family.
And what was it like to work with Clay Hall?
With who?
Clay Hall, the director.
Clay, yes. My first meeting with Clay, we sat down at dinner, and I remember I was myself and John Lasseter and Tracy and Clay, and I just remember how his deep knowledge of aviation, and I knew that he had such a great respect for that world that not only was I going to be in great hands in terms of his direction technically, but I knew that he was an enthusiast. He loves this world. He wants to make the people who do this for a living in any capacity in the world of aviation proud, and that rubs off on everybody.
And what's special about being in a Disney animated film for you?
Because they're timeless. You know, John said to me on the evening of that conversation when we spoke of doing this together, he said, there's very few people that, you know, I get to invite in and be at the helm of one of my ideas. And so I feel like now, for the rest of my life, I can say I'm a part of that Disney lineage.